Welcome back on the AM show. It's time now for the news review, and I've been joined by NDC parliamentary candidate for Efutu, James Kofi Annan, is my guest in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Kofi Annan. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure.
This is your second attempt as a parliamentary candidate for the constituency, Efutu.
Yes, this is my second attempt, and I'm hoping to be able to announce the seat for the NDC come December 7th.
Right.
Yes.
How is it looking?
It's looking good. I believe that the NDC has a track record in the constituency. Nearly every school that has been established in the constituency prior to 1992 was established by the NDC. The NDC is the party that extended electricity to almost every village in the constituency. So if you go to Iswechi, you go to Osubompe, Atetu, all those satellite communities were put on the national grid by the NDC.
Okay.
We used to have perennial water problem in the Efutu constituency, and the NDC became the party or the government that solved the problem, and not only to solve the problem, but also extended water to all the villages that are in the Efutu constituency. So if you go to Efutu constituency now, there is no community that has no water, and it is because of the NDC government that implemented the project. So the NDC stand tall when it comes to development projects in the constituency, and all the projects that the NDC has done are strategic projects. They are not a project that are not sustainable, like water, for instance. Once the community gets water, it will be there forever.
Good submission there.
Thank you.
I just asked how it's going, but you seem to have a lot of information on, where you're going and all that. Now, it's like a tradition here. Before we get into the newspapers or the topics that we want to actually delve into, there are a number of things happening in the country. We're looking at the doctors at the Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital who are striking because the government seems to be turning a blind eye to their issues, accommodation issues. There's also the recent power cut issues. What topical issue would you like to share your opinion on before we get into the actual of the day?
I would like to look at the doctors' situation.
Right.
See, basically the story is that the doctors have been evicted because a private developer is coming to take over the land on which the bungalows are situated and they are living in. And the private developer is going to put up structures, in their estate. But it's an unfortunate situation that we have to come to this level. Why should it be that in this country now, everything that belongs to the government is being taken over by private persons, private interests, to unless it's for their personal or parochial interest, instead of the larger interest of society? These are doctors who must have a place to stay and be comfortable to be able to look after the patients, their clients that comes to the hospitals. Now you are asking them to move out of their bungalows. You have given them ultimatum. So what should they do? They have to spend their time looking for accommodation in order for them to relocate their families and be comfortable. At the time they are looking for accommodation, what are you expecting them to do? Do you want them to be working as doctors in the hospitals when they are looking for accommodations? No. So obviously there's a problem here. Not long ago, we saw how the bungalows of the judges were pulled down, how the offices of the passport office was pulled down to make way for a cathedral. Now the cathedral is still sitting at the whole level or the dugout level. We could have allowed those bungalows to be there whilst we were planning for the cathedral. And I will not be surprised that this Akufo-Addo Teaching Hospital situation will be similar. That these people will be evicted, the bungalows will be pulled down, and we will not see anything there. No, so it's rather unfortunate, and I support the Ghana Medical Association's stand, that the government would have to put a stop to it. The doctors need the bungalows to live in order to be able to work, and there must be proper consultation. I'm sure if there was a proper consultation between the hospital workers and government, we would not have come to this level.
Right. Yesterday we saw how some patients were even stranded at the hospital, outpatients, because there was no doctor on call. And so people's lives are in danger. And, standing on the edge of such a precipice, I don't know where we go from here.
But were you expecting them to come to work? Well, no, naturally, if you're a victim, me, and I have a family, I have children, I have to be able to settle my family before I come to work. And this is not even about strike. This is about the human quest to live and to have a place where you can lay your head. You came from home here, to work. If you didn't have accommodation, where would you have put up for the night and be able to come to work? So we don't expect them to come to work because you are giving them eviction notice. You get the point. Exactly.
Well, I was just trying to, let you understand that we've seen people who are stranded at the hospital, and it's not a pleasant sight. That is the state of our nation right now. But let's talk about your 24-hour economy policy, proposed policy, because you're also on the ticket of the NDC. Your flag bearer is saying that should he be given the mandate, he's going to turn our economy into a 24-hour system, sort of. How will this work in your constituency, in the people of Ifutu? I'm asking because I have a little background in Ifutu. I schooled in Winneba, so I see how the community is it's more seasonal. It comes alive seasonally. When there are students on campus, it's like the community is thriving. There are activities in town. But when the schools are on vacation, there seems to be not as much life in there. How will this 24-hour economy work in a place like yours?
You have honestly, rightly diagnosed Winneba. The economy of Winneba is very seasonal in many ways. The farmers, farming is seasonal, and we are fishermen, so fishing is also very seasonal, as you know. And we have this university that gives some vibrancy to the town when they are in school. But once they are gone, then the town becomes nearly empty, So we don't have much economic activities when the students are not in school. And that is why, as people of Ifutu, we are so excited about the 24-hour economy policy that the John Mahama administration intends to implement. Because it will benefit us more than probably anyone.
How would it benefit you?
In my 2020 campaign, I did promise the people of Ifutu that I will establish a central market, Winneba Central Market. We have one market in Mankasim. We have another one in Aguna Shedro. Then there's one in Kaswa. Winneba sits in between. It's a junction. And we don't have any significant market in the town. And so I thought that once I establish that market, that will give some life, it will pull traffic to the town. Now, just a few weeks ago, the ex-president John Mahama, who is our flag bearer, came to the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission event and pledged that, Pomazi Poultry Farm, that had been there for many, many years, it collapsed and was put on divestiture and was acquired by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission. So they own it. He pledged that he is going to assist the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission to revitalize the Pomazi Poultry Farm and bring it back to its old glory of employing mass number of the youth in the area and beyond. Now, if we have the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm, which is a stone throw away from each other, you are talking about an economic environment that is vibrant enough to attract traffic from all over the country, including Accra, Shedru, bourgeoisie, Mankasim, and beyond.
But the actual implementation issues or ramifications of running a 24-hour economy, in simple terms, how would it work in a community where you've also agreed that it's seasonal? No,
so once we have that policy, the policy will come with regulatory environment.
Right.
What you can do, who gets incentive, companies that get in, the incentive that they will get, and so on and so forth. So once you have been able to establish the policy framework, then you are allowing private government partnership to establish businesses that will run within the confines of the 24-hour economy. And that's why I brought in the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm. And once they are established within the framework of the 24-hour economy, then you are talking about the Pomazi Poultry Farm producing and bringing their production to the Winneba Central Market and running it 24 hours. Okay. And while we have the university community also, because of the 24-hour economy, student and unemployment situation in this country, a lot of these students, when they vacate, they don't have anything to do. They will decide to work within the Winneba Central Market and the Pomazi Poultry Farm, and they will be able to run this 24-hour shift, and the majority of the students will be able to get employment. And when we were in school, in my days in Legon, a lot of students would vacate and travel to UK and go and do some 2 months, 3 months work and come back. Now you don't have to do that. You can conveniently get employment in the Pomazi Poultry Farm and the Winneba Central Market. And because of the 24-hour economy, more people can be employed.
We don't have enough time, so let's move on from this topic. The flag bearer has appointed Professor Jane Opoku-Agyeman as his running mate, and we've had lots of opinions. Even your incumbent member of parliament and majority leader, Afenyo-Markin, has said a lot about your choice of running mates. People have questioned his competency, experience. What's your opinion? Give me a sense of your thoughts when it comes to the choice of Jane Opoku-Agyeman as the running mate come December 2024.
Well,
does she have what it takes
to give
NDC the power you're looking for?
Of course. His choice is strategic. You made mention of my member of parliament making comments about her. I don't want to go in that area. I'm told that she taught him in school. There's a song that I know that has a refrain. It says, in tree, it says, so okosia kotonsuom na onyansani yinoa ne ho no na no so. Do you get that refrain? So okosia, you don't understand okosia?
What's okosia?
Okosia means foolish.
Okay.
When a foolish man falls into the waters, and a wise man comes to take him out of the water, whilst his body is drying, his mouth is also drying.
Explain. How does it relate to what you're trying to say?
No, basically it means that when people are helped out of distress situations, after being helped, they forget the distress situation they were in, and they begin to talk as if they are of their own. They didn't need anybody's help to get to where they are. So as they are getting their freedom and convenience in life, they begin to talk big. That's the.
Where Bube?
Yes.
Benjamin and I do this thing where we, in this month, Ghana month, where we give proverbs, share proverbs in our local languages. But where Bube?
Yes.
I don't think we want to get into who is Okasie and who
No.
So,
I'm not interested
so
in
let's
that.
talk about the competency of your choice of running mate.
Ghana has had a lot of women trailblazers.
Right.
We had the Professor Dolphins, who became the first woman professor in this country, and then went on to become the first female provost in this country. And we have had the Ama Atedus, the A4 Sutherlands. These are people who blazed the trail, you know, when we were growing up. But one person that has really done well in blazing the trail is Professor Annan Opoku-Agyeman, becoming the first ever vice president of a public university, vice chancellor of a public university in this country. And she did not just get there by chance. It was as a result of her competency that gave her that opportunity. And coming into the Ministry of Education, we all saw what this woman did. Across the country, look at the senior secondary school that was established in this country. Everywhere. In Central Region alone, we had 11 senior high schools. In fact, the administration of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman gave Central Region 18 senior high schools. At the time the president was leaving office, 10 of them had been commissioned. So this is a woman who has, in her own right, is very competent. Now, what is competency? What are we looking around? We are looking at somebody who was in the government of the NDC that left office with 4 cedi to $1 at the time they left office. Now we are looking at a vice president who so-called is a economist who is leaving office with over 13 Ghana cedis to $1. So how do we define competency here? For me, John Mahama has made a clear anti-corruption statement in the choice of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. This is a woman who became a Minister of Education for 4 years. A woman who became a Vice Chancellor of a whole university. Look at her lifestyle. Have you ever heard any corruption tag on her?
Well, we've not heard. Does not mean that it's not. I mean, we cannot say whether
she lives a very simple life. Very simple life as opposed to the opulence.
So she's the one to lead you.
She's the one,
John Mahama,
the right
to bring
person.
you the victory that you're looking for.
It is not only about victory. It's about the stability that her modest life brings to the tickets and brings to the government of the NDC. It is about the statement of the intolerance for corruption.
Do you think Ghana is ready for a female president?
Ghana is more than
because
ready.
John Mahama can only go 1 term.
Yes.
The onus falls on Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman.
We are not talking about presidency at this moment. We are talking about...
Well, in her position, it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. Yeah. And she qualifies. You know, I know where you are coming from. The issue that have been put out there about age.
Especially when the president is absent.
You're talking about age issue. Yeah. That's what I know you are thinking about.
No,
because people have put out there. How old is Joe Biden of America?
80 something
years. 81 years. Yeah. Joe Biden is 81 years. Donald Trump, who is contesting Joe Biden, who was the president of America, is 77 years. How old is Jane? Jane is only 72 years. So age doesn't come in. And when you talk about the person to be the next president, if she so wishes, she's more than qualified. This is a professor you're talking about, right? Somebody who has gone through all the stages in academia in terms of being a lecturer and a senior lecturer and being a professor, associate professor, and a full professor. That's the person we are talking about here. So when it comes to whatever you would seek for in terms of competency, academic competency, she's there. But also somebody who has experience in administration. A dean of students, somebody who has been a pro-VC and has been a vice chancellor, and a minister of education. Don't cut me yet. Okay. But somebody who combines both and brings such a value to the confines of the NDC's John Mahama administration. Those who are in presidency right now, where were they before becoming a president? Our president who has failed the whole nation was just a lawyer and a minister. Right. The vice president who has failed, hopefully, and now running away from his own expertise was a deputy governor of Bank of Ghana. That is all. That's all her claim to fame. But we are talking about a vice chancellor and a minister and somebody who is a trailblazer, in whatever you will term it. So now we celebrated, and the entire NDC celebrated for her choice. And we know why we celebrated. We know what she's bringing on the ticket. You are a feminist. You are a woman advocate. All the women advocates in this country must now join Nana to have the first ever female vice president of this country.
This makes me want to play the devil's advocate and ask you this question.
Yes.
No, malice intended, right? You know the politics we play in this country. It's down dirty sometimes, where politicians call out, their opponents, call them names, dress them down, ridicule some of their initiatives and stuff. If Professor Jane Nana Akufo-Addo was not a woman, the comments Afenyo-Markin made about how old this person is, do you think that you would have taken it as seriously? You would have made such an issue about this as you're making because she's a woman?
You see, I don't want you to drag me into that dirty arena.
Okay.
Afenyo-Markin has put himself in. Because you see,
I'm just wondering if
I was born by a woman.
It would have been the same.
It wouldn't be the same. That's why I'm so disappointed, my sister.
Right.
I was born by a woman. You were born by a woman.
I am a woman.
You were a woman. She was born by a woman. You understand? So why would you even go there? And you are a majority leader. We expect more decency from your mouth, from your lips. We expect more decency from your office. We expect you to know better. But as I said, so okosia kotonsuo na onyansani kodina ne wo no na ano so wo. And I will also add one. That you see, he who the gods will destroy, he first makes them mad. I'm sure you have heard of that proverb when we were in school. I mean, I think one of the Shakespeare's writings, he who the gods will destroy first makes them mad. So allow those who want to tag her and ridicule her, allow them the chance. But those decent minds in this country, discerning minds, would know and appreciate that a woman who has 3 children, all her children are in positions of decency, some even outside this country. A woman who has gone through the same competitions that men present to women. You see how it is on a university campus.
We have to move on.
And finally become a vice chancellor and a running mate, the first ever running mate of the 2 major political parties. You make such a comment about her. Is that? Are you okay?
Okay, so let's get into the newspapers. Personally, I appreciate the woman because she's the first to do what she's doing in her position. So honestly, no malice intended. But it's good that you shared your opinion on that bit. In the Daily Graphic newspaper, on the front page, it says the 50,000 people to receive job skills. That is the launch of the Ghana Apprenticeship Program by Vice President. The story is on page 3 of the Daily Graphic. And Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Dr. Fred Cheya, those who were present over there, launched a comprehensive program to provide a competency-based training to about 50,000 individuals, which was launched in Accra. They're saying the primary goal of the Ghana Apprenticeship Program initiative is to be overarching program providing apprenticeship training tailored to the demands of the contemporary jobs and fostering a bridge between traditional apprenticeship systems and modern systems of education. We know that the gap in the skills set, or the demand and supply, the discrepancies between demand and supply when it comes to the skills we need and the jobs available in this country, or even industrialization, apprenticeship, whatever, is huge. And so Would you say this is a good initiative? Would you say that this is a step in the right direction to launch a program like this where 50,000 people, I'm assuming young people, get the opportunity to learn some skills or improve their skills so that they are better suited to do something for themselves? What are your thoughts on this issue?
Well, ordinarily, this should be a good initiative. Right. Ordinarily, we have over
ordinarily,
yes, over 1.8 million individuals not employed in this country. 1.3 million of them are youth. So if the youth are going to be given skills to be able to gain employment, that should be a fine idea. But unfortunately, I think that this government is just trying hard to throw money, to places that should not necessarily go. Why am I saying that? We have the TVET centers across this country. You go and ask them. There are people who have been employed in the TVET institutions for over a year, some as far back as 2 years ago. They have not received their salaries. There are some of these TVET centers which has been established without equipment. There are some of these TVET centers which have been established that does not have the manpower or the personnel to train the student. You are creating this amorphous program to give skills to young people. What happens to the TVET institutions
but that has been that this is a competency-based program?
But that's exactly the reason why the TVET institutions were established in the first place. The TVET institution is the counterpart to the senior high schools. The senior high schools are academic. The TVET institutions are skills-based. Skills-based is the same as competency-based. Right. But we have these institutions there that are, you have not even paid their salaries. Why don't you give this 800 million Ghana cedis to these institutions? Do you remember USTAT? It was the same model that was envisaged, giving more than 10 billion or so Ghana cedis to do a USTAT, training young people to be able to access jobs and so on and so forth. What happens to it? We rather have to, in my view, have to give these resources to the existing institutions. Resource them, make them more competent, make them more able to train the young ones so that by the time they come out, they will be able to acquire the same skills that you are envisaging them to acquire. In that case, the workers, the employees of those institutions will be paid their salaries. In that case, those institutions will have the requisite tools that they will need to run the institutions. In that case, they will not run out of food for the students who are there. You will go inside this and you will see that it is all created for some political headlines. And you will go inside and you will see that the selections will be done skewed to some party executives and party agents. And then you go inside and you realize that it is a procurement project.
During the ministerial vetting of Dr. Hamidu, the minister designate for works and housing, he was of the opinion that training colleges and polytechnics should not be converted into universities because it defeats the very purpose of establishing a polytechnic. Is this in the same line of what you're saying, that we should keep the TVETs or the institutions that are already set to manage technical vocational training and skills and just focus on making them better as compared to launching a program like this? Is that what you're saying?
You see, the situation with the polytechnics is different.
Okay.
You have the universities that are academic. The polytechnics are giving skills like, I would say, competency-based. So you can upgrade the institution and still they will run the models. After all, those who go to polytechnics also aim to go and do their
but
masters.
But the polytechnics is supposed to give you a more refined, hands-on
experience,
just like the TVETs
yes,
and the other vocational training institutions.
Yeah, but it's still different. Hands-on experience go up from down from the secondary level to the university, so you can even go and do your masters and PhD in those areas. Okay. But this one, read the story well. You see that the creation is not an educational creation. It's a project that will select people, train them. It's like in vitro fertilization in women. Mm-hmm. You are taking the sperm of the man and taking the eggs of the woman out of their bodies and fertilizing them and then putting them back into the womb of the woman. And then artificial insemination, and then making the baby out of it. If you have the resources, why don't you, if the man can fertilize the woman, why don't you allow the man to do and get the fertilization inside? In that case, it becomes simple without all the unnecessary costs that are associated with it.
Fair point. This is the Ghanaian Times. There's a story here that inflation declines marginally to 23.2%, according to the Statistical Service. Now, the country's year-on-year inflation declined to 23.2% in the month of February, this last month, by 23.5% recorded in January 2024. This represents a marginal drop of 0.3 percentage points relative to the previous months. So latest figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service shows that the month-on-month inflation between January and February was 1.6%. The government statistician, Professor Samuel Enim, presenting the data at the news conference, said the non-food inflation declined to 20.0% in February from 20.5% in January. So they're talking about inflation seeing a decline to 23.2%. That's according to the Ghana Statistical Service. I would say that I do not know for sure if this is reflecting in the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian, but what are your views on this?
I was going to ask you, because I'm sure you go to the markets. Somebody once said the best way to know and judge inflation is in your pocket. How does it reflect in your pockets? We are talking about price increases here. We're talking about the cost of doing business. And we're talking about planning our lives around our incomes. In a year, I understand government increased salaries by 30% for the whole year. Once the salaries have been increased, you have to wait for the next year before your salary is increased. Remember, inflation is not 23%, as you are saying, throughout the year. Like it is once it's 23%, it means that it will not increase again. It is cumulative. So if you have a country which has the best economist as the vice president, the person who is going to be the messiah to rescue us from wherever they thought we were to now, having 23% inflation, and you want us to celebrate you, then I will say that you have failed even in your own values. Because this 23% is this month. Next month, it may be the same 23%. Only if, let's say next month, it will be 20%. It's still not enough to take us away from the erosion in our salaries. If your salary, as you see today, if your salary is 10,000 Ghana cedis a month, and you have to wait till the end of the year or one whole year before your salary is reviewed, and you're always having 23% as inflation, what it means is that by the end of the year, your salary in actual value will be about maybe 4,000 Ghana cedis. Because every month, what you can afford or what you could afford with the 10,000, you can no longer afford with that 10,000.
But in a way, the figures seem like this is good for us because it's a decline.
It's a decline. It's a decline.
Inflation.
But what do you want us to say? Do you want us to praise somebody? Is that what you are saying? You move us from you took us from single-digit inflation to 54%. And because we are stabilizing from that to 23, you want us to praise you. But
well,
who took us there?
The president did say during his address at the 6th March parade in Akufo-Addo that we are nearing the brink, or we are on the brink of an economic revolution. Things are about to get
economic
better. So
revolution.
we need to say this speaks to it.
If
we are experiencing a decline in the numbers, in the figures, inflation.
You see,
is that
I don't get you, my sister. I don't get you. You had 4 years plus 4 years, making 8 years. You had an economic messiah who you presented to us as the best in this continent, on this continent. We had a president who told us that Ghana is going to move from taxation to industrialization, meaning that Ghana was going to make economic gains that we will not need to talk about inflation. So why are we talking about inflation now? You get my point. Why are we talking about inflation now when you said that you are moving us from taxation to industrialization? One district, one factory. Now, one village, one dam. Now, you came to power and you gave us one dugout, one whatever. Even the dugout that you gave us are dry during the dry season. The very reason why the dams were supposed to be created, you gave us dugouts that do not have water when we have the dry season, and then flat villages when there's rainfall. So the talk about inflation coming down, I don't get it, because we were single digits, and you are the one who took us to that 23% or 24% or 25%, whatever it is. So why do we celebrate you? We can't celebrate you. In fact, the president is trying to only do a PR work for his vice president, who is now their presidential candidate. That is all that he's trying to do. You see that all throughout, as the economy gets worse and worse, the vice president moves away from economy to digitization. That's what he's trying to do. And the president is trying to do a PR work for him by cleaning his tracks as he moves away from the economy. But we will hold him, the vice president, to his own economy. We will not allow him to go and talk about digitalization. Digitalization that was started way back by the Rawlings regime. You remember Mijawante Namekasa? Mijawante Namekasa was the introduction of mobile phone in this country. We started with analog, and then we went into GSM before coming to Android. These are all the evolution of digitalization in this country. Passport acquisition went live online during the John Mahama administration. You remember Hannah Tete, who was then the minister. So we will not allow the vice president to present himself as if he is the person who is involving digitization in this country. Right. He did not. And he has no idea about technology or digitalization. He should stick to the failings in the economy and own up. He should own up. Look, yesterday I heard you having an interview with a woman who was, I think the person who was being vetted, the deputy minister also who was being vetted, and it was asked a question. And he said that, look, it is a party decision. It was a political decision. And once I'm a part of the party, I take responsibility for whatever decision that the party took. That's what we expect the vice president to do. Okay. Rather than now touting himself as a driver's mate. When a driver is unable to operate the car and runs us to an accident, to a ditch, that
analogy has been dissected and bisected so much that I think everybody understands that you probably should have not said that. But I just wanted to add on the topic of inflation that the entire Africa has experienced a decline. Compared to 2023, that was like 18.7%. This year, 2024 so far, we are around 17-point-something%. So maybe that's what's reflecting in the figures that the Ghana Statistical Service is giving us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I understand all that you said, but we have to wrap up.
Okay.
So, thank you so much. Mr. James Kofi Annan, NDC parliamentary candidate for Futu. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. This is how we're wrapping up for the news review. But coming up next is sports, AM Sports. Please stay with us.